So when you see a lot of these guys that are teaching you, they're all futurists in nature. Okay, so now, how did futurism rise to such widespread influence is the question. How did that happen? Now we're going to go through...
Jesuits.
We're going to go through a very nice historical thing. This is what Pastor Steve Woolberg referred in the book as the path of the virus. Now, you know, when your computer gets a virus, things just don't work out. Sometimes it's an email that you click, a simple link, or you download something, and then the malware invested your computer, and it just cannot function as good as it used to. In other words, what Steve Woolberg is saying in the book is that the virus of futurism has infested the Christian world so bad that they can even function properly. You will see what I mean. Now, here's the thing. Shortly after the Council of Trent, with the blessing of the Pope, Francisco Ribera masterminded a virus, the virus of futurism. Mercy. For the next 300 years, his Jesuit cohorts did their best to insert this virus into Protestant churches. They tried, especially through educational processes connected with the universities of Europe. But they failed. It didn't work then. Protestants were too smart, and they consistently blocked futurism's interest because the Protestant churches were not sending their students and their children to Jesuit schools. They were like, no, we're going to have our own school. We're going to hold to the Bible. We're going to teach our children what to believe. But things began to change later on. In addition, the effective Holy Ghost firewall, he calls it, and virus protection. They basically said, sorry, we don't open foreign attachments.
That's right. Sola Scriptura. They stuck with the word.
I wish they stayed that way forever.
Yeah.
In the 1800, they dropped their guards. Now, we're going to go through we're going to pull up some names. We're going to say some people's names. I want you to know I'm not condemning these men. I'm not saying they weren't great men. I'm not saying they haven't done anything good for Christianity. We're just looking at prophecy and history. That's all we're doing tonight. So here is the thing. We're going to see some big names that are going to come up tonight. Futurism of Ribera never posed a threat, they say, to the Protestants for 3 centuries. It never did. It was virtually confined to the Roman Catholic Church. Yes. But early in the 19th century, it sprang forth with vehemence and latched on to Protestants and in the established Church of England. This is huge. The first man on the scene now, we're going to look at a number of men. The first man we have on our scene is this guy, Dr. Samuel Rafi Maitland. Who was he? He was a British lawyer and a Bible scholar and became a librarian to the Archbishop of Canterbury at Lambeth. It is likely that one day he discovered Ribera's commentary in the library. In any event, in 1826, he published a widely read book attacking the Reformation, supporting the Jesuit idea of the future Mr. Antichrist. So the first time we have this idea that Antichrist is the future, it started with this man. But you're going to see how this continues to grow. For the next 10 years, in tracks after tracks, he continued his anti-Reformation rhetoric in a language of computers inside Mr. Maitland's README file, the virus alert. Okay. The second man we have on the scene is James H. Todd. What did he do? After Dr. Maitland came James H. Todd, professor of Hebrew at the University of Dublin. Giving credit to Maitland, that's him. Todd published his own futuristic pamphlets and books, commenting on the views of Maitland. And another so-called Protestant Mr. Berg, E.G. Eliot, reported how these 2 Protestant writers excuse the papacy from any concern from the predicted anti-Christian apostasy. These 2 men begin to say, this idea of the papacy being the Antichrist, that's not really true, guys, because the Antichrist is a futuristic figure, a single individual. We need to study our Bible correctly. Really? Okay. And then that same virus takes on another individual. John Henry Newman. Now, you should pause because you should know who this man is. And if you don't know, you're going to find out. John Henry Newman, a member of the Church of England and a leader of the famous Oxford movement. In 1550, Newman wrote his letter on Anglican difficulties, blatantly revealing that one of the goals of the movement was to lead the various English denominations and parties back to Rome. And the Oxford Tracts gave fresh weight to anti-Protestant opinions, gave assistance to these liberals of the futuristic school, worked to unprotestantize the Church of England, and set aside all application to Roman papacy of the fearful prophecies respecting Antichrist. But wait till you see what happens to him. After publishing his own pamphlets about a future Mr. Sinister, Newman himself became a Catholic and later a highly honored cardinal. Yes, you know this man. If you are a Seventh-day Adventist for the past 6 years, you should have seen this image.
That's an interesting word, James. Unprotestantize.
Unprotestantize.
I've never heard that one before.
So how have you heard or either known this man? If you sat in any prophecy seminar in the Adventist world, you should have seen a quote like this. The Catholic Church transferred the solemnity from the 7th day to the first. Yes, that's John Henry Newman. He was once a Protestant. We are told, furthermore, he said this, in the Church of Rome was the first to keep Sunday. Protestants who keep it followed her authority. This is what he said.
They don't even know it.
He never read the Bible, I guess.
Copied the Catholic Church. They don't even know it.
Mercy. But we have another individual. We're going to keep popping them up. Edward Irvins. Here goes an important guy. Look at the date. 1792 to 1833. What was going on during that time? The Millerites movement was starting.
Yeah.
The Great Awakening was starting. We were going to 1844. This guy was a bona fide preacher during the Great Awakening. This man was on fire for the Lord. But wait, he got caught with the same virus. Look what happens. Then came the Scottish Presbyterian minister Edward Irvins, who pastored the large Chalcedonian chapel in London with over 1,000 members. Co-founder of the Society for the Investigation of Prophecy, Irvin eventually accepted the one-man Antichrist idea of Newman, Berg, Todd, Maitland, Bellarmine, and Ribera. Yet, he went a step further. Where did he go? Somewhere around 1830, Irvins began to teach the noble idea of a two-phase return of Jesus. This is interesting because that view is still alive and well today.
Sure is.
The first phase being a secret rapture. Have you heard that before?
Yep.
Okay. Before the rise of the Antichrist. Where he gets this concept is a matter of hot dispute. But here, this book exposes it. This is called The Rapture Plot by Dave McPherson. This individual investigated in great details where this idea came from and exposes it. And this is what Dave McPherson said, right? Somewhere around 1830, Irvin began to teach this idea in his novel idea, a two-phase. I'm sorry, I read this already. No, he get this idea primarily from Margaret McDonald. Who is that? Oh, boy. Here is another individual. Yes, there was a woman involved, somebody.
Oh, yeah. Usually is.
And she didn't live long, but did she have an impact? Oh, yes, she did. Listen, Christian journalist Dave McPherson has researched this matter for many years. In his investigative books, The Rapture Plot, The Incredible Cover-Up, McPherson suggests Irvin snatched it from a young Scottish girl named Margaret McDonald, who first saw it during an ecstatic revelation, regardless of where Irvin got it. The fact it still is, he taught it. So what the school is saying, Margaret McDonald influenced Edward Irvins with the idea there's going to be two phases of the return of Jesus. One is the secret rapture. Two is the second coming. Listen, your average TBN, TD Jakes, and Creflo $1, give me $1, they're still teaching that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Let's keep going. Since Margaret McDonald was the first person to teach a coming of Christ that will precede the days of Antichrist, to date, no solid evidence has been found to prove that any other than this young Scottish Lacey was the first person to teach a future coming of Christ before the days of Antichrist. Whether she realized it or not, Margaret did her part to pave the way for the doctrine that would demand separate waiting rooms at the end of this age, one for the church and one for Israel. Have you heard that? There's gonna be you heard this concept: pre-trib, mid-trib, post-trib, right? Before the pre-trib, before the tribulation, mid-trib, in the middle of the tribulation, post-trib, after it. There is this idea.
It said she had an ecstatic revelation, James.
Yeah.
In the other paragraph, and when I looked that up, it says being in a state of ecstasy or joyfully enraptured.
Oh, that was good.
That was coming straight from the mind of the devil.
Absolutely.
Yep.
But now this idea they now have with this pre-trib, mid-trib, and post-trib, we have a 7 years tribulation instead of the 7 years. So what's happening is Christ comes secretly, the church disappear. Secret rapture. Everybody's gone, right? Your clothes are left, your bags are left. Oh, I don't know what happened to sister so-and-so. She just disappeared. She went and be with the Lord, right? Now, Antichrist comes. And then there's 7 years of tribulation. Antichrist come. Inside of that 7 years, there is an opportunity for the Jewish people to repent and become Christians. And at the end of that 7 years tribulation, then Christ comes again the second time. That's the second phase. And then he comes to redeem the Jewish people. This is madness. It's not found anywhere in the Bible. This woman created that. Now, let's continue. There goes another guy. John Nelson Darby. Yes, you should know who that is. Listen, John Nelson Darby, a brilliant lawyer, pastor, and theologian. Darby wrote more than 53 books on Bible subjects. On the positive side, he staunchly defended the infallibility of the scripture against British liberalism. Soon became one of the leaders of the English group called the Plymouth Brethren. Darby's contribution to the development of the evangelical theology has been so great that he's been called the father of modern dispensationalism. Okay, another big words. We're gonna come back to it. Finally, to charge that Darby could never have been influenced by Margaret McDonald's pre-Antichrist rapture with the knowledge of her revelation and his whereabouts in 1830, now out in the open, is practically the same as saying that a man found with a smoking revolver in hand and standing over a freshly killed victim in the middle of a lonely desert could not possibly be the suspect. In other words, the point of the matter is he got this view from Margaret McDonald. There was nobody else. Now, let's keep going. In the light of McPherson's careful research, it seems Margaret McDonald's pre-Antichrist rapture revelation is the real smoking gun behind Darby's theology. Regardless, the essential pre-tribulationalism of Margaret's doctrine soon became a weapon of mass deception in the hands of Darby and his dispensationalist followers. But wait, what is dispensationalism? Oh, I'm gonna let you hear it. You hear it all the time in your news. Listen. This is dispensationalism. Listen.
Israel should make the Gaza Strip a parking lot by this time next week. Destroy the whole thing. So I hope Netanyahu's a leader and he just mows the whole thing down by this time next week. The Muslim religion hates Jewish people to the core of who they are. What they ought to do is evacuate up there on the hill and get a great big missile and blow that wicked Dome of the Rock plumb off of the spot where it's standing right now, so we can get that third temple rebuilt and usher in the coming of Jesus.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Hitler would be proud.
Oh boy! Oh boy!
Wow.
Listen, you know how much he just said. This is like World War III type of language, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's all
It's based on what?
anti-Christian.
It's all-
It's based. It's based.
Hatred.
Yes, it's a hateful bigotry idea, but the thing is based on the same theory of Jesuitism. It's dispensational. Now, understand this: if Futurism and Preterism was husband and wife, they had a child. That is dispensationalism.
Yeah.
This is the child of Futurism.
The illegitimate child of Futurism.
Illegitimate. I like that. But here's the point. And here is that old lady called Ellen White, loved by some, hated by others. But I'll tell you this, and I'm gonna put my entire Christianity on this one. This is what she said. Since AD 70, the Jews had no temple. And here's the next following word. If Ellen White is a prophet, and I tell all my critics today, I don't know who's gonna watch this video when I upload it later. Listen, if you say Ellen White is a false prophet, Pastor James is telling you right now, if you can build a third temple, and I'm baking my life on this statement, I will burn all the books of Ellen White, and I'll become an evangelical. Listen, since AD 70, the Jews had no temple. Here's the next following words, 5 words. And they never will have one. Take that one to the bank.
Yeah.
Didn't Christ said that temple will never be rebuilt again?
She said, this idea of a temple being rebuilt is never going to happen. Now, listen. Early writings, 75. And you want to hear something even more bona fide? Here's what she said. Now, she's going to expound a little bit on that one. She said, powerful. She said, then I was pointed to some who are in great error of believing that it is their duty to go to Old Jerusalem and think that they have a work to do there before the Lord's come. Such a view is calculated to take the mind and interest from the present work of the Lord. Under the message of the third angel, for those who think that they are yet to go to Jerusalem, who will have their minds there, and their means will be withheld from the cause of present truth to get themselves and others there. She's rebuking at the time Adventists who thought we should go to Jerusalem. And let's go to Jerusalem and let's help with what's going on there. But wait, she went on to say this. I saw that such a mission will accomplish no real goal. That it will take a long while to make a few Jews believe in even the first advent. I had to pause. I said, oh, I love it. I love it. She said, you trying to get them to believe in the second coming? Yeah. They haven't even believed in the first one. They're still looking for a future Messiah. Yeah. So good luck trying to convert Jewish people. You need to pray for them. Here's what we say. Much more to believe in a second advent. I love this. I saw that Satan had greatly deceived some in this thing, and that souls all around them in this land could be held by them and led to keep the promise of God, that they were leaving them to perish. Why are you going to Jerusalem to try to save Jews who rejected Christ as their Messiah? You're not going to save them. They will rebuke you and fight you. Listen to what she says next. And this is another bona fide statement. I also saw that Old Jerusalem never would never would be built up. Let me say it again. She says very clearly, that old temple, that old Jerusalem is not going to be rebuilt. It doesn't matter how many politicians is behind it. It doesn't matter how many Christian nationalists, how many times they sing and dance. Listen, it's not going to happen. That's what she says.
Yeah.
And that Satan was doing his utmost to lead the minds of the children of the Lord into these things now in gathering time, to keep them from throwing their whole interest into the present work of the Lord, to cause them to neglect the necessary preparation for the day of the Lord. Nope, don't go there. So it doesn't matter, Netanyahu, whatever you want to call him, listen, and no temple going to be rebuilt.
No.
It's not going to happen. Now, let's keep going with some of our men. Let's go back to the historical record. Dispensationalism is the theory that God deals with mankind in distinct periods and ages. According to Darby, we are now in the church age. Prophecy is not with us now, which will conclude with the rapture. Then 70th week will supposedly kick in, during which the Antichrist will attack unfortunate Jews. And then they went on to say, thus, in spite of the positive features of his ministry, Darby followed Irvin, probably Margaret, Newman, Todd, Berg, Maitland, Ribera, by inserting the virus of futurism into his theology, now a pre-tribulation rapture theology. This created a link between John Nelson Darby and the father of modern dispensationalism, and Francisco Ribera, the ancient Jesuit father of futurism. Darby visited America 6 times from 1859 to 1874, preaching in all sorts of major cities. As American Protestants click open and receive his sermons, they had no idea that the virus was sneaking in. And that's what happened. Tragically, the historicism their forefathers were burned for was being systematically dragged toward the recycle bin, a computer term called the trash can. Mercy.
It's amazing.
One more.
Yeah.
Cyrus Engerson Schofield. Oh, yeah, you should know who that is.
Schofield Bible.
Oh, there you go. One of the most important figures in the whole drama is Cyrus Engerson Schofield, a Kansas lawyer who greatly influenced by the writings of Darby. In 1909, Schofield published the first edition of his famous Schofield Reference Bible. In the early 1900s, this Bible became so popular in America, Protestant Bible schools, remember now, the Jesuit thought is in that Bible, that liberally millions of copies were printed. Here is what he said. What made Schofield Bible so energizing was not so much the scripture itself, but the footnotes. Yet those footnotes contains the virus anti-Reformation interpretation were inserted that pointed the finger away from the papal realm and toward a future Antichrist. As 20th century American Protestant downloaded Schofield notes into their unsuspected brains, the virus attacks the file after file linked to historicism, clicking delete. Mercy. I love how this is Pastor Steve Woolberg's writing I'm reading right now. Listen, this is that Bible. You can still find it online. Might be a little bit expensive now to get a hold on, but you can still find this. The footnotes are still there. Now, in this conversation with Tucker Carlson and John Rich hit the nail on his head. This man knew what he was talking about. Now, I wonder how else does he knew. I don't know how much more he understood, but he understood this part. Listen to what he says.
What you're saying is the Schofield Bible, its theology is deceptive.
A very wealthy, very charismatic preacher named John Darby came with this doctrine that's now referred to as the secret rapture or the pre-tribulation rapture. And guess who he was connected to, by the way? The Rothschilds.
Interesting.
Have you ever heard of a Schofield Bible?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so C.I. Schofield was basically a student of John Darby. And he adopted that part of the doctrine and he incorporated that into the Bible. It was the first Bible ever made that had study notes with it. It became so popular, every Christian was reading it, every minister was reading it, including me, including my own father. For a long time, that's what we believe too. But when you start actually going back and reading line by line by line what is said that will be leading up to Jesus coming back, which is when the rapture happens, it's the inverse of what John Darby put down.
My sense was the Schofield stuff, which has had massive implications for our foreign policy, for example, and in our domestic politics, was probably a lie.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I stick with the King James.
Stick with the King James, my friend. Did you hear what it said? It was all a lie. But now let's continue. Listen, one of the most important figure, we read this already, but here is another interesting thing. That Schofield Bible played a significant role in what is known today as the Zionist movement in America. You say, what is that? Oh, boy. Oh, yeah. I don't want to go there. They're going to call you anti-Semitic if you even talk about that one. Listen, here's the thing. This idea that Jerusalem is special, the Jews are still special, no matter how many bombs they throw on the Palestinian people, Christian willing to pray for them and support them and give them our taxpayer dollar, that is the crazy thing that's driving Zionism today. We go on war in the name of that theory. You don't understand how, some of us may not realize how serious this is. Politicians are making decisions. They are drafting bills. They are pulling money out of American dollars on this idea.
Yes.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Okay? Children heads are missing, arms decapitated. You can go on X today and see what's happening. They're starving them to death. Why? Because we believe we need to build a third temple and we need to help the Jewish people today in Palestine to be God's remnant people no matter what. They are trying to fulfill prophecies, friends. Listen. So this idea went even deeper to Dallas Theological Seminary. We're just about done now. The Dallas Theological Seminary, and this man you're looking now is Louis Spury Schaeffer. Louis Spury Schaeffer, the Moody Bible Institute and the Dallas Theological Seminary has strongly supported the teaching of John Nelson Darby. Thus, this firmly Christian institution, in spite of the good they have done and continue to do, have unknowingly enabled a virus to do what viruses do best, multiply rapidly. So now the thought has a school in it. And then this man came out of that. Hard Lindsay, the late planet.
Oh, brother. My buddy.
That's from like the 70s, ain't it?
Yeah, man.
Oh, my goodness.
You are correct. In 1970s, Pastor Hal Lindsay, a graduate of Dallas Theological Seminary, released his blockbuster book, The Late Great Planet Earth. This volume brought futurism to the masses of America, American Christianity, and beyond. The New York Times labeled it the #1 bestseller of the decade. Over 30 million copies, mercy, have been sold, and it has been translated into more than 50 languages. But we have two major characters to end with.
Left Behind.
The late Jerry Jenkins gave us what is known as the Left Behind theory. I'm glad you paid attention, man.
I read the whole series.
You see how everything else is connected? And now, enter the Left Behind series. In 1990s, Tim LaHaye and Jerry Jenkins took the future Mr. Evil idea of Hal Lindsay, Schofield, Darby, Irvin, Newman, Todd, Maitland, and the Jesuit Ribera and turned it into the most successful Christian fiction series ever. And somebody's going to ask me the question now. I know.
They made a movie too.
Wait a minute.
Hold on.
If you go online today, some are going to tell you dispensationalism is a new teaching that is inconsistent with Christian scholarship, even Roman Catholics. They're going to say, I've listened to Catholics, theologian today who was like, oh, we don't believe in dispensationalism. We don't believe in this restoration of Israel, this idea of going to war. I hear what they're saying, but what they fail to understand, the seed that led to dispensationalism came from Roman Catholicism, which is futurism. So they see in the tree with the branches and the fruit, but what they don't realize, it started over here with the theory. That little seed eventually ended up into becoming a serious tree. And now this is the ripple effect. Futurism started as nothing more than a seed. An idea planted by the Jesuit Francisco Ribera to divert attention from the papal Antichrist. But the seed, that seed sprouted, grew, and spread. It became a massive tree whose branches now dominate most of modern prophecy teachings. What has it done? Here are 7 things it's done prophetically. It removes the Antichrist from history. It blinds millions to present deception. It weakens Protestantism. It creates an Israel-centered politicized prophecy. It produces the secret rapture doctrines. It exalts a future supervillain instead of a present system. It creates fear-based Christianity. I'm going to end with the man that I started. Steve Woolberg has the closing statement. And I love what he says. But here is the good news. It is a matter, futurism has crept into Protestant churches. It is a matter for deep regret that those who hold and advocate the futuristic system at the present day, Protestants as they are, for the most part, are thus really playing into the hands of Rome and helping to screen the papacy from detection as the Antichrist. You don't believe me? I tell you, I'm going to send you on a journey today. Knock on any Sunday keeping church and ask them who the Antichrist is. They're all confused. And if you can find one, not Adventist, any Sunday keeping church, ask them who is the Antichrist of Bible prophecy. Listen to what they're going to say is in the future.
Yeah. Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they're all waiting for the coming of the Antichrist.
Is in the future. Yep. And they all, guess what? Majority of them support Israel. And no matter what war and bombs is being thrown, they support it.
Yep.
No matter how many bodies are being, they support it. With the Bible in their hands. It's crazy. But now let's continue. He said, I will emphasize a fundamental truth once more. The futuristic school of Bible prophecy was created for one reason and one reason only: to counter the Protestant Reformation. Tragically, historicism, this is the good one, has been knocked down by a powerful punch. Yes, it has been. But let me clarify something. It is not entirely out of the boxing ring. Mark Twain once said, reports of my death have been greatly exaggerated. Though not as popular as it once was, historicism lives. God's truth never dies. Have no fear. Jesus Christ burst forth from a clammy grave. So will solidly biblical, historical Protestant truth before earth's final harvest. Read carefully Revelation 14, 6-14, 18 verse 1. Nothing takes God by surprise. In the time of the end, knowledge shall increase. Daniel 12 verse 4. Truth will conquer all alien forces, and at the end, and at last, inside the minds of those who are willing to see it.